people there,
Yeah.
and it's kind of, it feels significant, I guess. Like I kind of like got to know a whole new world in a way.
Yeah, I mean, well, you exposed yourself to a whole new world. You learned a lot, man. You learned so damn much. You know, like, let's start this off with the elephant in the room. You flew across to the other side of the world to meet a girl that wasn't interested.
Yeah.
You want to start there? Let's fucking go.
I don't know where to start though.
Well, we're going to start what happens to people that are removed from their needs is that they often never meet them. They're removed from something deeply intrinsic that allows them to meet them. You have a false story. That false story is not helping you.
I have what? A what story?
You have a false story.
False story.
Notice how PG-13 it is. I think it lacks real. It's very fantasy oriented. You know, like I look at your life, and if we look at it over the horizon of it, again, a lot of what comes up is rage, hurt, deep hurt. But also what comes off is stay fake. I keep hearing that from you. Stay fake. Fraudulence, that's the word I hear, fraudulence.
There's like it's so close to the core. I feel like that. How do I even like when you say rage, like anger? Yeah, like I fucking see it. It's like I'm gonna say something now, and I see the same bullshit as I say it. It's just what I'm saying is like, in a way, to an extent, seeing or understanding where people are coming from. And
what do other people have to do with it? You are removed from your ability to speak for yourself and what you are experiencing.
Yeah.
You understand the dangers of that is that you will manipulate everybody, and that unfortunately the more removed you become from your own needs, the larger the expectation, and what you're going to do on an unconscious level in order to get them to meet those things is never going to satisfy you. Needs can only be met in their truth.
Yeah.
Only in their truth, Allah. Now this is not cool, right? Because what you're doing right now is you're starting to speak for other people for something that requires you to speak for yourself. Take a sexual experience, and I mean this simplifies it very well. You have a person that is not responsible for any of the things that's happening. Usually women will do this. But this kind of shows me that, like, yeah, you've strayed very far away from what is authentic about you, that you would even adopt that, which is kind of what happens if you're not shown otherwise in how you direct your aggression as a man. You will learn from women, which you have. But here's how it looks. You are going to remove yourself from your own enjoyment of the things that you do and make it that the other person is making you. Like I had this the other day. A girl was like, "Are you objectifying me? Or is this a connection?" And I said, I'm not going to answer any of those because they're both not true. I said, "Are you having fun?" No, I first started off, I said, "I'm having fun right now. Are you having fun?" And she said, "Yeah, I am having fun." So I said, "What's objectification have to do with anything?" I think you understand ultimately what exactly was she doing. Well, she was trying to play Bambi and I'm the predator. Now, that's a fun game to play if you both know you're playing it, but there was a serious issue, which is the person had no power. I was the puppeteer, they were the puppet. Now, that's really dangerous, especially if you want to do things like be intimate with somebody, because I know what's going to happen after that happens. I'm the person that took advantage of you, right? And that makes you feel better about what you did and chose to do? You see what I'm saying? That the person is unconscious of their own behaviors, and then already shows them that they have a poor relationship with this part of themselves. And I like to call that dark nature. You know, like that's our conversation right now, Allo. This is why you're here. But if you don't start learning how to speak for yourself, then you're Bambi in every interaction, including this one.
Yeah, the thing that I was like saying earlier, like was the same thing of like I see the bullshit in that. It's where it's devoid of like what I need.
Yes. And let's start off with what you need. Just being able to communicate it. You want to know what you're going to feel when you communicate what you need? Shame and fear. Are you willing to do that? Because I want you to know the things that you're doing are a byproduct of fear and very shameful. You're like a guy that's paying for sex because he's scared of intimacy. Does that make sense? I have the same thing in my life. I'm like, ooh, sexy siren. She'd love if I just pulled my pants down and showed her how big I am. You know what I'm saying? Now, then you see a girl who has humanity and vulnerability, and then you're like, oh, no, that's too much for her. Well, you could say, which one's more honest?
Yeah.
Well, I need to start incorporating the levels of emotion, vulnerability, and intimacy, because there's room for real experiences. And by the way, the nature of humanity is that I think that it's far more rich when you are seen and deserving as you are. Does that make sense? That I never really get to develop a relationship with this part of me if I'm only keeping it in the shadows. I'm almost subconsciously looking for people that, with certainty, approve this side of me. Right? But there's no courage in that. And also, by the way, there's no evolution, because sirens are sirens. They're not interested in anything else. Well, by the way, there's a certain point, Allo, where I have no choice but up. You know, you play with enough sirens, you realize that every time that you interact with them, you have to rip them off. There's a certain point where you're like, I'm done with that. I'd rather, embrace the vulnerability of being a man and being myself, because I feel like it's too much at times, Allo. I feel like my sexuality is too much. The other day I was out at a cafe, and it's not like me to be hesitant, But I took a moment to recognize, why am I hesitant? Because I'm absolutely terrified. And I'm terrified of this part of me. And this has a lot to do, first off, you don't understand the reason why it's very simple for you, Allo, is because this is a part of your life that you haven't fully integrated. A lot of it has to do with your sexuality. You believe that it's deeply juvenile if it's removed from sensitivity. Look at where it's gotten you. It didn't help her and it didn't help you. As I know her and I know what she needed. She needed to woman up, right? As much as you needed to man up. And okay, what exactly does that mean? It means put some skin in the game. Recognize the vulnerabilities in relationship to real intimacy, and then recognize the reason why we do it, because it's worth it. We leave ourselves vulnerable for things that are real, because things that are real are deeply meaningful. So, I was at the cafe the other day and I see this really cute girl. She is like a 5'1", redhead, beautiful blue eyes, tan skin. I was honestly just curious, where the fuck are you from? But I'm asking that because I'm asking it from a place of, I want to see you naked, where are you from? That's the truth. But I go to pick up my coffee. I'm looking, I got 15 minutes to the lecture. I gotta fucking drive back to the house. I don't want to be late for that. But dude, I've been late for other shit. Do you know what I'm saying? Why the fuck not? This might be something interesting. All of that curiosity, all of that play, closed. What came up? Fear, shame. Fear of this part of me. I don't know if I feel safe with it. If I don't feel safe with it, I'm gonna start speaking about how other people don't want it. Do you see the dangers of that? And so I recognized, whoa. And I saw her, she was there sitting on the phone right next to me. She was doing all the things, like walking by me, whatever it was. I was like, nah, she looks disinterested. Nah, she's definitely not into it. But I'm noticing I'm doing this, dude. I'm rolling my shoulders forward. I'm caving in my chest, right? And I heard this, that this part of me is too much. This part of me is too much. I looked at her, took a deep exhale, and I'm like, can't believe I'm fucking doing this. And I walked out. That's not what I usually do. And now I'm actually out there, I'm compensating, right? You know, like now I need to prove something to myself. But I did walk away with a lot of wisdom. I went to go see my coach later. And I said, I felt that it's too much. And also, this is a coffee shop I got kicked out of before because I was hitting on too many girls at the time. But at the time, I was very disconnected. Like, I want you to notice something, Allah. You are doing it the right way. What does that mean even? It means that you are incorporating your heart in relationship to your capacity. You are not just doing it from a place of arrogance, ignorance, or pain. You're recognizing the vulnerability in relationship to doing this. And also, by the way, is this more fun to live it as yourself? Yes. Is there more disappointment to live it as yourself? Yes. Now, is there a possibility of intimacy, which I do know you want? Yes. The alternative, as a character, that doesn't exist. It's about the less you know, the better. Let me fabricate an idea of who you think I am, and I'm going to play into your projection until I cosmically disappoint you. But before then, I'll leave. You have that capacity. And you're doing it in a very subtle way. But it's making you do things that I believe are acts of self-betrayal. I feel that porn is one of those. It's a ritual. It's a ritual of self-betrayal. Me in hiding with the one thing that represents my needs, away from no one else, with a person that doesn't even know I exist, with myself. So I'm going to experience the adventures and fantasies of life in hiding with someone who doesn't even know I exist. You hear how shameful that is? That's the ritual. What does that ritual do? Well, it embodies a belief. And you're like, okay, I guess this is who you are, but we know that's not true. But I heard this, and it's something that I wrote down, because there's a few things. One of them is that, whenever a guy starts talking to me about his needs, the next thing I start talking about is his relationship with his sexuality. Can you tell me why that's true?
Can you repeat that?
Whenever I hear somebody talking about their needs, the next thing I talk about is the relationship with their sexuality. Tell me why that is true. One second, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Is it better?
Yeah.
Okay, can you repeat the question one more time?
When a man tells me he's struggling with his needs, why is it the next question I ask him is his relationship with his sexuality?
Well, I still, how else not, because that's it's either like one or the other, like that gets repressed. Like you can be a monkey or you can be like whatever, like what I am, basically. Like that sexual side is totally repressed, and all that emotional.
Okay, can you acknowledge
like
it? Because I notice you always dismiss it when I talk about that you repress your sexuality, your sexual interests, your desires. Look, I can tell you a story about my relationship with my sexuality recently. I'm terrified of it. Yet I'm recognizing something, that through this, I can walk my soul's path. You know, it's something about it is so important to discovering who I am in the truest sense. I'm not just talking about, hey, living a good life. I'm talking about living my life, and that is good. In that order, I'm living my life. Now, I feel like this is a conversation that has been passed down from my father and, in a lot of ways mirrored in my mother. The conversation of sexuality and emotional needs, sensitivity and sex, how those two are connected to each other. Now, what I also find to be really interesting is that these are acts of great healing, but usually there's a deep pain, a deep hurt, right? And a lot of the time we're seeking connection as a means to heal that deep hurt, which is reasonable, but you have to start recognizing that this metaphorical stain is something we're looking to have a relationship with. There's a lot about yourself, and there's why do you resist this conversation? Let's actually play it that way. I want you to recognize your own resistance. Start establishing that, just even between me and you. It's something you kind of freeze up against. I see you tense up.
Feels stupid, honestly speaking.
Okay, how so?
Maybe because of the language, or like earlier when you were just like saying that you notice how I dismiss that repressing the sexual needs, and like I'm not getting it.
Well, no, that's what I want to say. It's because you're not accepting it. It goes over your head. I'm throwing you a ball right now, and it's bouncing past your court. We're not playing tennis at the moment. What I'm trying to say, I want you to acknowledge that you're not hitting the ball back. And then,
in the sense of that I'm dismissing the point of me repressing my sexual needs.
Yes, but what I'm saying to you, you're dismissing it on two fronts, me and the thing itself. Now, the reason why I'm making this a very important emphasis here is because this is relational. I could only imagine what women in your life go through. I'm not joking. Things don't just go over your head because you're stupid, because that's what you'd like to tell yourself. That is completely false. I've seen you do some diabolically Luciferian level IQ bullshit, okay? You do not lack IQ. Let's throw that out the window. But let's talk about what you don't want to start having a conversation with because it makes you feel like you're lit on fire with something you do not want to feel. Shame. You've always struggled with it.
Shame, yeah.
And I'll tell you, people who struggle with shame are the same people that struggle taking responsibility for a part of themselves. That is your issue. You struggle with responsibility.
All right.
That feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah, why would you want to take responsibility for something? By the way, and it makes you viscerally immature. Like, it's just immaturity. And by the way, you can imagine how frustrated people get with you. Like, just take responsibility. And I want you to know, what about that do you feel, what about the word responsibility? What about responsibility as a whole makes you kind of go like, I don't need that?
I don't even know.
Well, just look, pay attention to something. What's happening right now with you? I threw you a ball. We were playing a game of tennis. We got here, okay? You're lucky Thomas is not in today. This is awesome that Thomas is not in today because, my God, you need to recognize this. I can't continue playing tennis with you, but you're going to have to continue this conversation for the rest of your life, whether you like it or not. And it's going to be something that you are going to continue with the people that you love the most. There is a ludicrous idea that you are removed from your vulnerabilities as a human being. The idea that you can no longer unsee your nakedness is absurd. It's the metaphor of Adam and Eve in the garden, of when they ate the fruit. Yes, they've eaten of the fruit, things have changed. And you've become more conscious, and if anything, self-conscious in relationship to your own nakedness. And a lot of ways, what we felt is that we need to hide from it. We run from it. And this is the thing that I want you to start developing a relationship with. And so it's very similar to, it's almost a level of, hey, pick this up. And what I'm doing is I'm just dropping the ball in front of you, and it's just bouncing. It's just bouncing, and I'm picking it up again. All right, you ready? I'm picking it up. I'm going to drop it. Yeah, okay. Right? That's called associating, Alo. This brings up a lot. You know, you're very much a phantom type of guy. You know what a phantom is? They're disconnected people. And like, you don't want to accept that you're disconnected. And you know, you have what you call an incredible lexicon, like understanding of the vocabulary, but you use it as a weapon. You're not actually connected to it. And it's like, well, how do I know? You're like the girl that talks about, you know, tantric sex, but the second anything has to do with getting naked, she turns the lights off. You're like, oh, you're not really connected to this, are you? Or how about this one? The one that's not very connected to her body, but understands that she could leverage it as a way to get guys. What do you think happens with the guy she likes? That's nothing more than a means to an end. She's not connected to it. She's a T-800 with a double D. You understand? Women show you this truth, right? But look at you right now. You have all of this understanding of sensitivity, developmental developmental wounds, traumas, emotional needs, shadow, capacity, narcissism, psychopathy, Machiavellianism. Where the fuck are you? And it looks like this. Split.
Completely lost.
Yes. Disconnected is a better word. When I say, Alo, you're disconnected, what do you feel?
Tight.
Tight?
Like,
You want to protect yourself.
I want to it's like I want to get there, but like, my whatever, like my nervous. Yeah.
1 second, I lost you. Alo?
That's better. Am I back? Yeah.
Okay, so you said something about your nervous system.
Yeah, like, I guess like I feel under attack.
Good, great. Yes, you are protecting yourself right now. Can you recognize that?
Yeah.
Now, this is going to really help you out. When I'm mentioning this, recognize what you are protecting yourself from. There is a part of you that does not want to continue this conversation at all. It wants to end it right now and tell me to go fuck myself. Okay? Now, there is also a part of you that's going, 1 second. I need to hear this. Can you? All you need to do is one thing. See where's one and where's the other. And recognize that this is happening.
So,
Again, the connections.
1, 2. I feel, hey, am I back? Hey. I feel that side a lot stronger. That I want to be here. That I want to push myself through it.
Yes.
So like, what? The side that wants to tell you to go fuck yourself. I'm not connected to that. Like, I get the resistance, I get the feeling of being under attack, but I don't like that aggression under that would, whatever, like, manifest.
That's what I'm trying to say.
That doesn't.
That aggression right there, you have. Can you acknowledge that? This is part of helping you reassociate. You need this part of you. You need this part of you. That's what your life is missing. So before you go ahead and go, no, that's not really happening, I don't want to acknowledge it, it's the next few steps of your life. You need that. So let's try it again. There's a part of you that goes, tell me more, I'm disconnected. I want to understand. I want to get closer, and I want to bridge the gaps of this disconnect. I know this to be true. There's another part of you with it like almost wants to kill in terms of its aggression. Okay? And it's going, fuck you. I want you to recognize that that's a part of you. This is what I like to call the unintegrated shadow, meaning that it only functions in your protection, and you go, this is what you do. This is the lack of responsibility issue you have. You go like this. That's not happening. There's just this. And then I go, Alo, you're not just dismissing me right now, you're dismissing yourself. There's also this. And you go, no, this is the way that it is. And it's like, oh my God. The more that you struggle to take responsibility for this part of you, the more you're going to have what you call misplaced faith in others. You are going to be so disappointed in the people that you're with because you are so blind from who you are. You don't want to continue that. And that's part of one of your cycles. You kind of go like this. No, that's not happening. And of course, all of those other things aren't happening. But look, you're literally on a fucking boat right now. You got another 16-hour flight to get back home. Now, there's adventure in your actions that manifested in lessons that are worth more than any experience you could have got there. Okay? I know that to be true. But let's get back to that. I'm hitting you this ball. What are you resisting when I say you're disconnected? Acknowledge the part of you that's really violently angry towards that. Just recognize it, and let's talk about it.
Yeah, weak. Not even weak. Like just as like something's
wrong with you. You feel like something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now what's the feeling?
Shame.
Good.
Shame.
Slow down. Breathe. Go like this. Don't try to get it out. Try to learn to be with it. Now, you're not going to like this, but I really like now I want you to listen. The Adam and Eve story is very powerful. They lived naked and unashamed. The snake is a very powerful metaphor for something that's part of nature, but it's also what the feminine is most susceptible to. Snake-like narratives, ideology that you can be like God. God made it very clear you don't eat of that tree. Yet here she is. So it always starts with the woman. And that's also true about the feminine essence in ourselves as men. It's the part of ourselves that believes there's security that's beyond. So it's the part of ourselves that allows there to be evolution forward in life, but also the thing that could, flirt with snakes near trees you're not allowed around. There's also a subconscious aspect of it, which is, the singular nature of male nature is that when she eats of it, she gets you to eat of it. That meaning that that's the way by which it's introduced in relationship to the woman that you're with. So there's almost something there that's very interesting, that we almost feel a victim of our own nature because the first thing that he blames after he realizes that is her. Well, and she inherently blames the snake as the thing itself to be what has manipulated her. And by the way, there's something interesting about the snake being in relationship to Mother Earth, right? It's a part of existence, right? And so she's almost inherently blaming a lot of her own vices in relationship to her choice. Both people are victimized to the thing that they are, or at least what they are susceptible to. After they ate of the tree, before God speaks to them, and you get to kind of see a little bit about male and female nature, you get Adam and Eve realizing that they are naked. And God manifests himself in the garden and he says, "Where are you?" When they realized their nakedness, they were ashamed and they hid. They sewed fig leaves to themselves. Now, the funny thing about the nature of it existing in the face of God, it's absurd. He's manifested every molecule of your existence. Your nakedness is irrelevant. But we started noticing something that we're deeply self-conscious of. The first emotion we felt was shame. And it wasn't like, oh, shame that we ate the fruit. Like, that didn't exist. We became aware. And then there was a shame in relationship to our own nakedness, our own vulnerability. Now, I know you want to go ahead and try to hide that, right? Wouldn't that be great? We just go like this. Oh, well, that's not there anymore. I'm recognizing the nature of something in my life, and this is going to really help you out. My relationship with my sexuality is that it feels too much. It does. I'm noticing that more and more because I'm more open and available. I'm no longer just existing as a concept or a character. Like, you reject a character, it doesn't bug me, right? But the thing itself, I'm realizing that the person's rejection of that thing is separate from what my relationship is with it. And sometimes we even beg that the person kind of confirms our own story. And I've had that with people. It's like, oh, go talk to that girl. They want to prove to themselves that they're unlovable. They want the no. And it's almost like they're trying to seek it in the world. And this is just a very simple thing, which is what I notice with men when I take them out, is that they would do exactly that. They would try to seek to prove something right, which made me realize that the nature of the conversation is here. So I wrote something down because it really helped me out, understanding that, like, it doesn't leave, okay, Allah? It does not leave. This shame is just showing you the introduction of a conversation you don't want to have. You need this conversation in your life if you want to even consider progressing it. Do you understand me? If you cannot take responsibility for it, you are disassociating from the conversation that allows a progression of your consciousness, opposed to reducing it. Now, I understand why you're scared. There are a lot of reasons why I'm so scared, man. Like, I'm living in the shadows of my sexual capacity. Oh, yes, I am. But, you know, what's also really interesting is that I thought, you know, I picked a job that just, you know, I can go ahead and be an intellectual, but I couldn't have been more wrong. I picked a job that requires a voice. You know, the two chakra points that are connected is the throat and the sacrum. Both of them involve one thing: expression and creativity. And so it's like, well, as much as I'm limited here, I'm limited there. And as I'm limited here, I'm limited up there, right? Oh boy. You know, on an outer layer, I have this integrated, but I realize it's not fully integrated. It's not integrated in relationship to who I am. Because there's a few things that make me shudder in fear. And one of them is that kind of expression. Something about it. When I see it, I recognize it at its capacity. I realize that I have to be the most selfish person in the world to see this conversation through. I need to be willing to disappoint a lot of people. I need to be willing to blur the lines between what I believe to be moral. You understand that? If what I'm looking for is an intimate relationship, and these are my snakes, who's going to be the first to play that game? I know for certain it's going to be me. Some people feel that they are too much. Others, like you, fear you are too little. You have that in other areas of your life, but I would say in relationship to sexuality, it definitely feels like it's too much. It's not even a conversation you want to have. It's, no, not happening. Not going there. See, that's what I'm saying. That's the other part of you. That's what it sounds like to me. Hey, catch this. Nope, not doing that. No, absolutely not doing that. And I want you to pay attention to what you are so afraid of, what you feel so ashamed about. And I wrote this down. I recognize that I can have a relationship with too much. Maybe it does not change its magnitude. I can let it become my greatest contribution. That I know to be true. That my greatest contribution will be through that. And the next thing I wrote is, this is a shame. It's not going anywhere. Can you accept that, Allah? It's not going anywhere, right? Actually, I'll tell you what's happening by you not accepting that. You avoid to take responsibility. That will ruin your life. Our humanity is the relationship with it. There's humanity in that. I don't know if you ever heard of reframe. You ever heard of those NLP terms? Let's just reframe it. Really, it's the innate part of you that desires to connect. Does that help you? Yeah, maybe it gets you next week, week after, until you start realizing, the only thing that drives me is this. sex is the only thing that drives me. I had a hard time accepting that. Sex is my ultimate drive. And I was like, oh no, fuck, it's not love, connection. Don't even get me started. I'm not going to rationalize or intellectually bypass a conversation that exists here. I need to learn how to not be right, how to be real, and stumble with what's real. Maybe towards my best, and then that's worth it. And the next thing I wrote is, our humanity is our relationship with it, a relationship with the stain. Isn't that what it feels like in a lot of ways? Like you can't scrub this away? And that's the thing that you don't want to do. It's a byproduct of what? Immaturity. Now I can tell you something, that if you struggled taking responsibility, in a lot of ways, that's what you learned to do. Look, and I could explain, because a lot of this does have a lot to do with your childhood, in terms of why would somebody avoid taking responsibility, right? Great question. One of my other clients, she does something very similarly, and the way that her story looks is very reflective of yours. In a lot of ways, she learned how to dismiss a lot of her emotional needs, and in that, stopped learning how to take responsibility for herself. Isn't that interesting? That the more that she was dismissed in relationship to those needs, the more she dismissed herself in the responsibility to meet them for her. The more that she would act like a victim in areas she is not, because she fails to recognize the areas where she was. Very similar to you. What, to take responsibility for it, to acknowledge them so that they aren't met? You understand? Because even for me, it's much bigger than I thought, you know? But ultimately, there's still this subconscious system that's running, that's getting other people to quote unquote meet them, but you don't even have a relationship with them. And that's the thing that makes you most afraid. It's that, like, if they haven't been met before, what makes you think that I'm qualified in order to meet them? I don't even know what they are. The nature of your needs being met is not just to meet them in the vacuum of meeting them. Is that you learn to have a relationship with that part of you. That's the reason. Go for it.
I mean, yeah, like, just like what's coming up right now is like, yeah, like wanting a relationship or a woman who would submit and who I could lead, but then at the same time, the shame that I'm feeling towards that, and then like how or where I am in my life as well. And then like, no, how the fuck can this? No, just no.
There it is. You saw that? What happened there? No, just no. Continue.
The like, yeah, like I'm not deserving of that.
Yes. I'm not enough.
I'm not enough. Yeah, I'm like, so far, whatever, like, the tried has failed, and I'm at my absolute bottom right now.
Good.
Like, sure, I have that part of me that I know that I'm not going to fucking just curl up into a ball and die, but that doesn't really mean anything to me in this situation. Yeah, it's just like feeling utterly worthless.
This is very important for you to recognize the difference between feeling shame, which is recognizing your relationship with something, and feeling sorry for yourself about what that relationship is. What was that, what you just did right there?
feeling sorry for myself.
So let's try again. Recognize your relationship with it.
This is the part where I feel stupid.
Don't need to make that about you either. You can recognize your relationship with it. You have a shameful relationship with it. Look, I can continue what I wrote. It'll give you a little bit of better understanding. And I wrote this, in real intimacy, we see each other without the fig leaf. And so ultimately you have two options. You continue to embrace the fig leaf, you're a victim to what these vulnerabilities really elicit and represent, or you start recognizing that what you're really looking for is intimacy without the fig leaf, because that's real intimacy. So look, you're making progress here. I want you to recognize that. Look, I even noticed it this way, that I felt a lot more, the conversation's not over in relationship to my sexuality feeling like too much. I felt more open. And I recognized that there's going to be disappointment, there's going to be heartbreak, there's going to be pain, there's going to be fear, there's going to be shame. What I'm in pursuit of is building a family. And the basis of that family is a loving relationship between me and my partner. A connection. That means real intimacy. Building a real intimate relationship and a beautiful family with it. We often don't get to see that. Look, in a lot of ways, the story of my father is very interesting, that he's a rock and roller who shook his hips and fucking sang the songs that he wanted to sing that were very, very hot. And then it's well, in a lot of ways, when I had this dream of my father, I felt it came with a dream before it. I was involved in organized crime before I saw my dad as a 26-year-old rock star shaking his hips in front of a crowd of 1,000 people. I realized that I was involved in organized crime and I took a person's life. And I saw my dad in his 50s at the table of my childhood home with my older brothers next to me, and I was 4 years old. As I walked into the house, I was a 26-year-old man, and I saw the younger version of myself at 4, and I looked at my father and I said, I took a man's life and I was involved in crime. And he said, I understand, me too. I said, what about the cops? They're going to find me. He goes, don't worry, you're in the middle of Oklahoma. They don't care anyways. And the next dream I see my father as a 26-year-old rock star, shaking his hips, singing in front of a crowd. And I didn't recognize him, but I heard these words, I'm living in the shadows of him. That struck a chord. And it wasn't it's not a question of societal achievements. No. To sing like that and to move your hips like that at the same time, I'm living in the shadow of that expression. And it made me realize, well, look, how do I know how my father felt about it? I was raised with that man. I know how he felt about it. He was a manifestation of his feelings about that part of himself. He hid it. He hid it under the guises of moral religiosity. He also hid it under weight and a long beard. I didn't know who the fuck that was when I saw it in the dream. I had to put two and two together. But what's that reflective of, Allah? To see a dream of your father is to recognize, like father, like son, is the most immediate transference of these characteristics. There's a few things that my father has in terms of characteristics. Rage and a tremendous sexual capacity. an extraordinarily creative, sensitive person. If your father is Darth Vader, then I guess that makes you Luke. So I didn't want to take responsibility for these things until I realized that the nature of my prayers were, I want liberation from the conversation. There's only one way to be liberated from the conversation: see it through, surrender. There's a gift that I want to give my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren, as I want them to feel that they are completely integrated with that part of themselves. And I know that I can. You're struggling just even starting the conversation. I'm in the conversation. Where would you rather like to be? That's a good question.
I mean, I want to be in the conversation.
Do you? No. You haven't acknowledged the part of you that doesn't first, so start there. Tell me about the part of you that doesn't want to start it, that would rather be a victim to the shame of your experience opposed to recognize the current relationship that you have with this part of yourself.
What the fuck is this? I'm blowing my own mind right now.
Well, don't flatter me. Look at the part of you that doesn't want to have the conversation. Hear it, listen to it, just say whatever it is. Just like, I don't want to take responsibility for this. I don't want to acknowledge this. I want to reject this conversation. Just whatever it is, just share it with me.
Only thing that comes up is that I do fucking want to have this conversation.
Okay.
I see like, I get what you mean. But it's not there. I want to, whether that's in its own way, like a double mindfuck, or like half masochistic, whatever kind of thing. It's like I want to put myself through that, and the point of actually like saying that no, like you said, like go fuck yourself.
Yes.
It's not coming up.
Okay, well that's good.
It's like it.
Well, I'm just letting you know that you're in your head, so it makes it very difficult to associate to an emotion when you're in your head. You'll intellectualize it. So that still means that you're resisting. Now, on an intellectual level, you don't want to do that because you have an understanding of what's utilitarianism, what utility it has for you at this point. No, I want you to you understand that there's a reason why people drink and bury and disassociate and fuck it out. It's because they don't want to feel this way. Now, it's an elevation of consciousness. Now, there's something very important, like, okay, you struggled to take responsibility. Then I could tell you where you did struggle. A lot of it had to do with a lot of your emotional needs, you know? It's very hard because I don't even know myself because I'm trying to find something here that I'm discovering. And a lot of it has to do with the nature of what exactly the people that struggle taking responsibility. I'm looking more for, it's usually where their needs are dismissed over long periods of time. They struggle to take responsibility for those very things too. And then they make it other people's responsibility to do so. And that's kind of what happens here, is that I'm really helping you because I'm getting you to play the game, to have the conversation. I want you to recognize that the nature of your trauma is neglectful, because that's what has happened to you. That's what you're doing to yourself. And you could heal it on both fronts. You could recognize the areas in your life to where, hey, whoa, It's like, yeah, you're adopting neglect as a means to survive, right? Because you've made it to this point and it's got you this far. Like, what's the point of communicating or expressing your needs if they're consistently dismissed? Okay, now, can you recognize that in your life? Could we start even associating to that? Because that's going to already start making you feel like, you know, you have a lot of shame. Because you're going to feel weak.
Yeah.
But this is also maturity, right? You start noticing the nature of like, whoa. Why is it some points in our life where there's this deep hurt, it's like we regress back to a 6-year-old? Well, that's already, you know, that's how you know when it's happened, but also the nature of what you were looking to fulfill was then, not now. And so then, by the way, then your conversations become skewed. You become unavailable for things that demand your vulnerability, like this space demands that.
Yeah.
A lot of this has to do with not wanting to take responsibility. Like, oh yeah, you repress your sexuality. Right over your head. Still going over your head. Just letting you recognize that, because I know the difference. Right now, it's this.
Why don't
It's closed.
why don't I recognize that?
Recognize what?
That I was just like repeating your question. If I heard it right, why don't I recognize that my sexual needs are that I'm repressing my sexual needs?
It's a great question. Why don't you want to? Why don't you want to continue that conversation? A lot of it has to do with not wanting to feel shame. Let's be real, it's going to break you down, Alo.
Yeah. And I'll feel like, it feels too much, then I'll feel like a pervert.
That's a good place to start. You will feel like a pervert. It's actually the next thing that I wrote down here, because I integrated what I just said there into my life, because this is the lesson that I'm having. I'm dating again. I'm not just like performing, you know, I'm dating, which means you get to know people, you get disappointed. And so the real intimacy is when we see each other without our fig leaf, you know, and I'm recognizing the nature of why is that, because I want to incorporate what's most true about me and develop a relationship with that. I want to show up without the fig leaf. And I said, this is dating with humanity, where there's intimacy, disappointment, emotions, and snakes. These are your snakes. They're coming up. And then I wrote, I want a relationship with being disappointed, disappointing others, women, feeling dirty, perverted, sexually immoral, being too much. And there, if I develop a relationship with that, I can play. And it doesn't need to be so serious. It's, by the way, another area to recognize where there's trauma around things, where there's seriousness.
Yeah, disappointing others and hurting others. Yeah, that sticks in.
Yeah?
That's not something I can allow myself to do to other people.
Well done, Alo. Well done. Well done. Look, I just shared with you my story, and I think it's very relevant to you at the moment, because in a lot of ways, I think that there is a lot in relationship to the conversation with your sexuality that's so reflective of your relationship with your needs, and I think that brings up a lot of traumas, and it makes things really serious. And you have two options. You know, you could live as this bullshit, Baskin-Robbins flavor, or you can start recognizing like, okay, developing a relationship with me is very, very difficult because I realize the nature of how much shame I experience in relationship to my needs and what's most true about me. If you want to know something very powerful, Alo, that your needs extend beyond just them being met on a juvenile level. Like, oh, you're horny, blowjob, right? But then you start realizing, okay, I don't want favor blowjobs, I want connection. So that now immediately started off sexual, now went to something deeply existential like connection. Your needs, dude, they're the reason why you're here on this planet. When I started recognizing the need to be seen and how deep that went, and how terrified I became because so much of it had to do with my voice And I realized that we don't just exist in the vacuum of me being a musical theater boy. It has a lot to do with I desire to express in intimate environments. And if I want to extend that intimacy to the people that I speak, I must be connected to that part of me. And my God, am I terrified of it. And if I could just accept that I am, then I won't have my head up my ass every damn day. And I recognize that actually I'd rather be scared than cower. I'd rather cry in the face of what terrifies me than turn away. That these are conversations that truly help me recognize what I value and what I live for. And I recognize that I'm most alive in the struggle. That's where I want to be. I do not want to be a finished book. And right now, you don't even want to start writing the first page without knowing the answer. This is a product of you not wanting to take responsibility for your life, for yourself, for your needs, for these conversations. You have ulterior motives. It's the byproduct of somebody who's deeply immature and doesn't want to continue these conversations. But for a 35-year-old man, the last thing you want to be is a 35-year-old baby who refuses to take responsibility. Is it scary? It's scary, but I want you to know something, Anna. Like, I see us doing this for a long time together, okay? You are not alone. You start recognizing, hey, you've done it. You've done everything else up to this point. Why not let's try doing it true? Try doing it real. And then right comes along the way. And you start noticing, well, hey, there's blessings, there's fulfillment, there's meaning. You know, so many people have to force themselves into a life that they want to live. They forget the thing that they are pulled to, that animates them, that keeps them alive. You know, the human spirit is not a question of discipline. The human spirit is the necessary discipline to open up the floodgates of the heart that animate a person's every day of their life. That keeps them alive. There's a deep hurt in my heart, okay? And in that deep hurt is my greatest prayer. And in that prayer, there is a dialogue with something much larger than myself that doesn't just keep me alive, it keeps me young. It keeps me invigorated. It's a passion that never dies. It is the force of life inside of me. To have that conversation means that my life does not just exist in the vacuum of the current circumstances of the things that I have been given and what I will be given. It means that I will continue on for eternity. That conversation means that I am looking to receive as much meaning as possible because it's already worked out. I want to experience my life. You have an opportunity for that. This conversation is not a finished book. Most people have already their finished book. Yours is you will die alone and no one will love you because nobody understands the depth of your emotions. That's not your story. Because emotions have got nothing to do with it. That's part of your life. It's not your identity. You've made it your identity as a way to avoid this conversation that has to do with your needs. This is going to make you a man. And that's what I know you've come here for. You want to feel that. You want to feel that. You've been very disconnected from it for a very long time. And to hear that I've been disconnected from it is peace to your soul. But it's a viscerally negative response to your survival mechanism. Because we understand with certainty to accept that you are disconnected and to have that part of you recognize you are in control means that you are now aiming your life towards writing your story without having an end. We look for an end as a means to end that feeling of shame. I have the same thing. I'm not the greatest speaker in the world yet. Oh, no. I'm actually currently learning that I was hit with so many challenges in this call with you that it made me doubt myself for the first 30 minutes of me talking. I recognized that I had to throw away this idea that I needed to know all the answers, that I needed to be a finished book. Because all of those things are exactly what removes me from the ability to learn. And that's all I want. I'm a hungry soul. I'm hungry to learn. I can't get enough of it. It's peanut butter in the jaws of a puppy. I'm just licking it away. The flavor is so rich. And I recognize that's what keeps me young. What's that got to do with it, knowing or not? Here's what I did realize, that in the conversation of me putting that aside, I recognized that I needed to invite myself to the exact same feeling of underlying shame. Why the hell would I write a story if at the end it doesn't work out? What if I'm not enough? Maybe I'm too much, because that's my story. I'm too much. And sometimes it goes in other areas of my life if I'm not enough. And you have areas in your life where you're not enough, and some areas where you're too much, but it's ultimately the same thing. And have you noticed that the more alive that you are there, well, you start to condition yourself to that way of being. And there you have your curiosity, your intuition, your playfulness. And then what's it got to do with anything? What I've noticed is that you're alive. Most people are the walking dead. You start thinking about, can I continue these conversations for as long as I live? The age that I am has got nothing to do with the path that I'm on. Because as I walk this path, I'm returning to what's most true and why I'm here. And it was in a prayer that I had last night, something I want you to practice, prayer. Diligent prayer. There's writing, there's meditation, there's driving, there's thought. Those are all beautiful. Diligent prayer. And I went by the bedside, rolled up the other side of the bed sheet, put my elbows on the lip of the bed, and I bent my head down. As I bent my head down, I knew that I was given everything in my life so that I could wear the soles out of the boots that I am designed to walk. The distance that I'm going, there won't be any sole of that boot left. And that's why I was given it. The people I love most will hit our fork in the road. And before we even know it, I'll be looking at the horizons of my life and they'll be pursuing theirs. Our backs will be turned to each other as we walk away. And those moments will come to an end and there will be a great grief. And somehow in that great grief towards the things that fulfill you the most, I just want to give you the tools and the ability to let go. You're going to need that. There's so much you're holding on to. And there's a conversation you haven't even started because you're protecting yourself from shame, and that's the beginning of elevating your consciousness. We didn't just feel fear, we felt shame, and then in that shame we started to run. This is how you develop your consciousness. You never wanted a finished story, my friend. That's the lie you tell yourself. You want to become what you are born to be. That's what you want to become. Nothing will fulfill you. Nothing will fulfill you. You do not understand. The reason why I love doing what I do is because at least I feel that nothing else will come close to doing what I believe is most true, what I'm here to do. As much as I love my family, I recognize that this is far bigger than myself. And it requires me to reevaluate the family because that too will go. Why am I here? I used to think of that question as kind of a cliche, but then I realized that not many people even beg to ask themselves that question. And that question led to the deepest question of my life. Are you a good person? A lot of it tied into morality. And I realized that I'm definitely not a bad person, but I am somebody who's so disconnected from the part of himself that would exist if I actually lived in accordance with what I believed to be true about me, and I made that my aim. I might lose a lot of friends. And guess what? That's the exact thing that's going to allow there to be a relationship between me and you and yourself, and the people in your life that will fortify you towards your best. So what's it going to be, Allah?
I want.
You cut out there. Hello? I'm going to tell you to jump out and jump back in.
Hey.
What's up, stud?
Hey. Yeah, I said I want that discovery.
Yes, I could feel a lot of hunger in you now. I could feel hunger in you. I could feel you're out of your head. I could also feel that you're inspired. You're inspired, you know? Like, this is a part of you. It's never going to change. Your greatest contribution will come through this. You know what I really love about the Adam and Eve story is that they actually just discovered what they were initially before they became self-conscious about it. It's not like you got kicked out of paradise immediately. You just became aware of your existence. Something about that seems to be so reflective of what it's like to integrate consciousness, or at least what the further stories are iterating. The next thing that happens is a story of betrayal, Allah, between brothers. The end of the Genesis book is where brothers serve one another, where actually the older serves the younger. And they grow together. I mean, you start talking about the story of like consciousness and shame. You know, Cain and Abel is a perfect example. Remember I said that you're a bully and you're a poisonous viper. It's like, yeah, because you fit the Cain archetype. The poisonously resentful brother that would seek to spite God, opposed to have the conversation of why he's not enough. He just chose to attack the metric system as a whole, and then he took his brother's life. There was no intellectual response from God. God's response was, you're going to wear this the rest of your life. And I won't let anyone take your life until 900 years go by. I forgot exactly how many years it is, but it was a long time. He lived his whole life in shame, as a brand, a mark, a stain, an irremovable part of himself. You know, it's the very thing that allows a person to have the conversation of what they can contribute and who they are. If you can't even have the conversation, sin crouches at the door. There's an intrinsic belief in you that surely you can improve yourself. That's what God does speak to Cain. That speaks to something in him. It means that with certainty you are capable of more. That there is something unique that you are born to contribute. Now, what is that? It's hard to be in the unknown, Alo. I'm not saying this as a professional of unknownism. I'm saying it as someone who's, had his few battles. And with those few battles have known that only there have I become anything. When we start talking about the discovery process, we're talking about the becoming process. We need that. You need that. Some people have a finished book. Some people don't even decide to write the first page. That's you. You don't even want to entertain the idea that this is it. And I can tell you that with certainty, any person that's willing to have this conversation is willing to progress their life towards beauty and goodness. Every single person that has it can and will. With certainty, nobody who even begins the first pages of this conversation with certainty are never loved as they are. They're an epic with their manifested current belief system. That's at the best case scenario.
Yeah, completely letting go will definitely be very hard for me. Because having that kind of a semblance of at least some kind of like a certainty, I guess, of like, control. And I thought as well, like what you said, you talked right now about uniqueness. Like one of these past few lectures, in the end, you also said something. You told me that I described something with the existential pain and something, and you said that I was looking for a trauma and that to look for a uniqueness.
I actually like that. Look for your uniqueness, right? So the reason why I brought up sexuality. When we celebrate people's uniqueness, right? How old do they need to turn before we throw them a party? Their unique expression. Why is the conversation of fetishes also simultaneously existential? Well, because we understand it has a lot to do with your emotional needs. And it's like, whoa, okay, that's very interesting. There's something kind of existential about it, even though you're talking to a BDSM chick, right? There's something unique about your expression. You could reduce it down to just, I'm into weird shit. Depends who you're talking to.
No, but then it's like the same thing you described earlier of like, I said like, okay, I'm horny, blowjob, but then like actually.
Then actually realizing, I wanted connection.
Not a favor,
Not a favor, right?
Of actually wanting like you described it at one point of like having having my needs met as much as them wanting to meet them.
Yes, right? There's something interesting about the mother really shows the relationship between ourselves and our emotional needs. The father shows the ability to take that into the world, right? When it turns out that your mother breastfed you because you needed it, it's half, isn't it? It's half. Isn't that interesting how that manifests in the bedroom later in your intimate relationships as an adult male, right? Now, if it turns out as much as you needed it, she needed it too, which is, by the way, scientifically true. That the mother doesn't just breastfeed the child, but also for the mother. Because there's the story of the doctor talking to the mother that just had a new baby. He says, yeah, you need to breastfeed him at least 3 to 4 times a day. And she goes, wow, that's a lot of breastfeeding. She goes, like, what about time for me? And he goes, that is time for you. Crazy idea, right? Imagine that. You're like, babe, sex 6 times a day. And she's like, wow, that's what about time for me? Woo! That is time for you, right? Do you get what I'm saying?
Exactly. If that's not time for you as well, then, well.
I guess this isn't going to work out too well, is it? Right? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah, isn't there something very powerful about that? Imagine a guy, oh, fuck, I have to go to work. That guy's dead. He's dead. He's already dead. Where's the heart in relationship to what he dedicates all his time to? He's not taking what he experiences in his intimate life and bringing it into the world. Look, when we survive, we notice that why do we aim towards survival? And I notice that the modern world, a lot of us is holding on to that idea that we have to. It's just not working. We can aim ourselves towards horizons we've never even evolved to look at. And somehow through that, we won't just have a relationship that works. We can have a relationship that's intimate and loving. Like, what does that even mean? It means that you get to enjoy the fruits of the experience. That's never happened before. Isn't that great?
Yeah. But then that's where the weight of it comes in as well.
How so?
But it's as you said, like being yourself without the fig leaf.
Yeah.
And then going through all the points of people and hurt people and just find out how you're not compatible, and the rarity of connecting with someone, or like finding someone who you connect to that well that you ultimately see or experience, or how it also goes, and then also not holding on to it and letting it show itself, letting it manifest itself as it comes.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck.
Yeah, by the way, no, but there's something very, very beautiful about that. Like, I could hear it moves you. It moves you very, very deeply.
Okay.
What's the point of all of this? I need the necessary safety and security to take what's most unique about me and bring it into the world. There's so much about what I recognized around my needs that had so much to do with the path of my life. I never thought of it to be just something so superficial, as in oh, mommy and daddy didn't give me this. It's I think in a lot of ways, I didn't really feel that there was a natural synergy between what I put out in the world and how it was received. And there's going to be plenty of time where it's not received well, but then you start recognizing the nature of a relationship with your needs is the beginning that allows you to persist. You persist in relationship to them, right? Eventually, you no longer seek other people to meet them. You live with what you call belief. I mean that. You would love it. My people in my business were freaking out, oh man, we're not making sales. It's January, biggest month. I looked in the mirror one day and I just realized if I had none of the belief from any of the people in my business, how much does that matter if I believe in myself? The belief in myself has always been the manifestation of my greatest good.
Yeah.
And I realized that that's what really love does. Love allows us to recognize the greatest possible good that we can bring into this world. That's why we need love so bad. It's eyes. It's what sets us free. You know, we start recognizing that there's a purpose here. One of my favorite things that my friend told me, which still lingers with me to this day, is it's not a question of why you are here as Alo or Naftali. The question of why we are here at all is far more crazy. You actually got a chance to walk in your shoes. Why? Something about that leaves us with an undying appreciation, not as a way to bypass the negative emotions, but I've recognized that there's an intrinsic chaoticness that's necessary for the evolution of yourself. And so I think you're refusing a lot of that inner chaos. That chaos is being begged to be brought out here. And by the way, I mean it. Like, you got fucking tattoos in Australia. Like, I want this to be more manifested in towards the necessary uniqueness to bring into this world. It's innovation, it's evolution, it's transformation. Like, hello, that's the chaos we need to bring. And by the way, in a lot of ways, it feels like it doesn't belong. But I can tell you one thing, you don't have the conversation about what your relationship with that part of you is, you will never even begin to experience the process of that becoming anything more, right? And so then now you're kind of living in a meaningless existence, and so all of your efforts lack any weight.
I mean, something I experienced, this just reminded me, like that was even before the trip. I was in my temporary apartment in Estonia, and just, I think I was listening to some of your lectures or something before going to bed, and I was just like pacing around the room, and I was just looking at my hands at the same time, and I grabbed my own hands, held like the palms, no, not like that, but like hand in hand, but with my own hands. And I fucking broke down crying. It was, yeah.
You know, there's something very powerful about a breakdown, something I heard from Jordan Peterson I thought was really rich, is that it reestablishes neuroplasticity, right? What is breaking down? It's the current structure of what you built up. It's just not working, you know? It's not working for what you're dying to express. And so tears are healing because they are representative of us breaking down identities. You know, I was recognizing how much I was crying during the summer, man, you know, because this was Rome falling, man. This was Rome falling. And if I had reservations against that, I don't think I'd be here having this conversation with you. I'd still be entertaining your mass neuroses at the beginning of the time that you had. I wouldn't have actually been helping you at all. It would have been like the overbearing mother trying to tell their children something when she really needs to listen to the things that she says to them more than the children need to hear it. So yeah, I think in a lot of ways this starts with what exactly you feel the shame in relationship to. And I feel like in a lot of ways writing. Are you writing?
Haven't been lately.
Okay, so you know what you're going to be writing about. The first thing, I'm disconnected. Then everything that comes up in relationship to what you're disconnected from. I've noticed that in a lot of ways, writing is the best way to work through a lot of the things that you're seeking to relate, and notice a few things. No revelations. No revelations. You don't get revelations. No conclusions. I wanted to find the last word because it says no revelations, no. Yeah, I'd definitely say no revelations or conclusions. Incorporate conversation and relation. Those two. Shame is not a problem you solve. If anything, I recognize it's more reflective of your relationship with what that thing is. It never leaves. That's why I think that's why we have a very delusional culture. And by the way, in a lot of ways, we're feeling less and less relatability towards people that we look up to in whatever kind of cultural space. Have you noticed that? It's like they're almost lacking a humanity. And then you're almost trying to adopt that for yourself. And it's like, well, this isn't working out. So yeah, do not write with a conclusion or in search of a revelation. Write real, like as if you're going to go back and read it 10 years from now and enjoy it. That's something I also realized. That I always noticed that the older I got, the more wisdom that came with that age. And I recognize that writing around what I'm going to look at and laugh has always been silly. And I recognize that there's a tremendous beauty and greatness to an individual that can come clean with their current lack of understanding. And so every time that I get to prayer, or I get to reading, or I even show up to here, I recognize that I do not know and I do not need to know. I want to come in with what is real and let the process of transformation, or I guess to say the much larger spirit, take place. And there is my greatest creation, because I'm alive there. Something about that removes me from an expectation of who I need to be. And so you're destroying that identity up to this point. I'm gonna have to let you go, brother. We'll talk soon. I'll see you, it's Tuesday today.
Yeah.
So I'll see you Thursday. What was there? One last thing? If you could just go ahead, you could send it to me. I have to head out.
Okay, yeah.
All the best, stud. Bye-bye.
All right.
Oh.